was reading in the Wall Street Journal that there is a trend that has taken over TikTok and all sorts of commentary among the Zoomers, among Gen Z, the people younger than millennials, which is the trend of quiet quitting. And quiet quitting is when you keep your job, you don't quit, you don't resign, you don't even get fired. You just do the bare minimum. You clock in at 9 o'clock on the dot, you clock out at 5 o'clock on the dot, you don't pick up your phone, you don't work weekends, you don't do anything. And it was so bizarre to read this because I was always raised that you just work hard and you never stop working hard, and all the guys at the top are working really hard. I know you work about 27 hours a day. I've seen it up close in cities all around the country. How do you explain this trend? And do the Zoomers have any sort of point when they're looking for work-life balance?
Well, Michael, I got to say, I think you're being ageist, and it may just be that you've gotten too old and you're too far removed from the youngsters, and you need someone like me who's more in touch with the youths. Listen, we have a prominent example of someone doing this. Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. The guy's had a job for a year and a half, and he hasn't left his basement.
That's true.
Look, I do think the pandemic had all sorts of harms, but it was particularly harmful to Gen Z. It was particularly harmful to people starting their careers. It was very harmful to kids, too. I mean, kids who had school shut down, that was incredibly harmful. But, you have a lot of people in their early 20s who have their first job, and their first job was during the pandemic, where they worked from home and they just Zoomed from home. And I got to say now, and I talked to lots of people in the workplace who say that 20-somethings say, hey, I'm just going to work from home this week. And they think that it's just the way it's done, that you just Zoom in. And there are lots of problems with that, one of which is that often people who are working from home don't work. Like, they claim I'm working, and magically they're doing everything from, playing golf to sleeping to running on the beach. But none of which are actually the job, presumably, you're paid to do. But it also really hurts young people not to be in the office. And I look at, I think back to when I was in my 20s and just starting working. The experience of being there, of being in the office culture, of seeing people who are more experienced, of learning from them. Look, I worked obviously as a lawyer. It is still very much the case that the way you learn how to be a lawyer, you don't learn how to be a lawyer in law school. You learn to be a lawyer much like they did in the days of Abraham Lincoln, which you carry someone's briefcase. You just watch someone, you apprentice under someone who is doing it, and you learn by osmosis. You learn by just observing and being there and seeing the day-to-day rhythm and how you do it. And I do think young people in particular who think I don't ever need to go into the office to work are robbing themselves of really critical education and on-the-job training. And that, at the end of the day, it's not healthy for society, but it's not healthy for them either.